Hey everybody, Joy Boy here, the Joy you can trust, back with another World of Warcraft video. And in today's video, we're going to talk about Onyxia and how to get her on farm status for your guild. I'm going to talk about and show you Onyxia's mechanics and how our guild handles her as our strategy makes it to where there is damage control and how we get her to go instantly to our main tank in Phase 3. At this point in time, the majority of people are slowly starting to get into the raid scene, and Onyxia is a raid boss you will encounter. After doing her long-ass quest chain to get attuned, you will see yourself in her lair, ready to take this bitch down. There are 3 phases and I'll explain each phase. Granted, Phase 1 is easy and the problems arise when she does fireballs, deep breath, and transitioning into Phase 3. These 3 points I will address and how you can fix these issues. Phase 1 is a very trivial and basic tank and spank phase. At the start, you need to let the main tank position her at the far end of the room, which is the opposite side from when you run in. As the main tank is positioning her, have your raid go to one side of the room and group up. Once the main tank has her in the correct position, and when the go-ahead is given, your DPS will lightly start to slap her up. Don't try to go too big dick at the start, as her knockback ability reduces the main tank's threat by 25%. And if you're riding the main tank in threat, then you can cause your raid members to die, as she can turn to the next one on the threat list and either cleave or flame breath the raid. Melee DPS should be stabbing the shit out of the side of her belly, as if you stand behind her you can get tail whipped and flung across the room, potentially landing in a field of eggs, resulting in many whelps. Phase 2 starts when she reaches 65% HP and will turn to the skies, or rather, the ceiling. Now there are 3 things that can wipe your raid during this phase. Those 3 things are her fireball, deep breath, and whelps spawning from the eggs. Now when she goes into the air, she will throw up fireballs at the person with the highest threat in the raid, and if anyone is standing near that player, they will take damage as well. When one of these fireballs hit a player, and that player only, then their threat is reset to 0. But if that person that gets hit with a fireball ends up getting another player hit, then their threat is not reset to 0 or reduced. So when she goes into the air, the first person she will target will be the main tank, as he will be the highest in threat, leading into Phase 2. What we do is when she goes into the air is have our main tank, off tank, and 3 healers stand near the entrance of the room and have the main tank and off tank stand right next to each other, as this prevents the main tank's threat from being reset. Doing this allows for the transition to Phase 3 to go smoothly, as she will go right after the main tank. Out of anyone to take damage in the raid, the 2 tanks are ideal, as they will have the most or close to the highest amount of fire resistance and HP, to allow the 3 healers to easily keep them alive. The only time the main tank will not be targeted for a fireball is when someone surpasses the tank's threat, such as a healer, mage, or warlock, but when they are targeted and take a fireball by themselves, they will have their threat reduced to 0, making the next person to be targeted the main tank again. As for the rest of the raid, we split them up. Odds left side and evens on the right side, as this makes sure that when someone surpasses the main tank's threat, and she targets them for a fireball, you should have plenty of room to spread out so that 2 or more people don't take damage from a fireball. If done correctly and someone gets hit with a fireball, they should not be at death's door, as they are now at the bottom of the threat meter, which allows them to be safely healed, or they can self-bandage if need be. The last and final mechanic that can kill your raid in Phase 2 is her deep breath. To make this part easy, you can have a hunter place a hunter's mark on Onyxia and have him talk in your voice chat and ping on the map where the safe locations are. Since the hunter's mark places an icon in their minimap, they can easily see where she is in comparison to the safe locations. So having a hunter that is talkative is very helpful here. As you can see here from these pictures, you can position yourself in the safe locations. Phase 3 starts when she hits 40%, and in Phase 3 she has the same abilities as in Phase 1 plus more. Now when she is about to hit 40%, we have the raid setting up for Phase 1 positioning, by slowly making their way back over to Odd's side. And we also have the main tank and his group start making their way to where she needs to be tanked, because when she lands, she will go right after the main tank, as his threat was never wiped during Phase 2. We place the Tremor Totem preemptively near the main tank, as in Phase 3 she will do a raid-wide fear called Bellowing Roar. And if you're Alliance, you will place a Fear Ward on the main tank when their Berserker Rage is on cooldown, to make sure the main tank doesn't get feared and takes a fear path towards the raid for a cleave or flame breath, or away from the raid for a tail swipe. Also make sure if you are Horde to have a Shaman in the healer group, so that they can benefit from a Tremor Totem as well, so that the main tank can get some heals during Onyxia's Bellowing Roar. DPS. When she lands, you all need to be careful and let the main tank or raid leader give the go-ahead when they can start smashing her, because she still does her knockback ability, which reduces the main tank's threat by 25%. Once Onyxia is positioned correctly and everything is in control, we have our raid back to the same positioning as Phase 1. Also during this phase, whelps will spawn just like in Phase 2. Since we have our raid all together, the whelps will go for the healers, but since we have hilarious amounts of DPS and backup tanks together, the whelps get destroyed and any damage to the raid from the whelps is under control because every single healer is near to help out. And that is the Onyxia fight and how we as a guild do it. If you do the fireball strategy where the main tank and off tank share fireballs, it will make damage control easy as you know who is taking damage and when they are taking damage, as this leads into a smooth transition into Phase 3, where you won't have Onyxia running down your DPS or healers and mollywopping the shit out of him. I hope this strategy helps you all get Onyxia on farm status, because this strategy alone definitely helps us out a lot. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, it made you laugh, and forward you anything positive, please get a nice karate chop, like, subscribe button, make sure to leave a comment down below. Support's greatly appreciated, and on that, I'll catch you on the next video.